Right, we begin here. In a few hours, President Cyril Ramaphosa will tell the nation what his game plan for the country is. There are great expectations for his speech, but some don't believe he'll say anything new. We have a full team in Cape Town to bring you all the angles of the 2022 SONA. Let's go live to Siphamandla Goke now. Sipa, tell me who you're with and what are people telling you they expect from the president tonight? All right, it looks like we are not getting Siphamandla at the moment, but of course we know that the president will be speaking at 7 o'clock this evening. We know that it won't happen in Parliament after that arson attack on the 2nd of January, and it will take place at Cape Town's City Hall. Let's bring in the ACDP's Kenneth Meshwe, but before that, let's go back to our senior reporter, Siphamandla Goke. Sipa, I'm hoping you can hear me now. I just want to know who you're with at the moment and what have people been telling you they expect from the president this evening?
Well, people have been telling us that they expect the president to touch on serious issues that are affecting the country, that have got to do with the state of the nation. They expect the president to concretely outline plans to decisively deal with the stubbornly high unemployment rate, poverty, inequality, but also address issues related to the economy. At the end of the day, it boils down to one thing: economic growth, which will translate into job creation, which will take many people out of poverty. That's what it boils down to. If you don't address the issue of economic growth, you will not be able to deal with socio-economic challenges that the country is facing. Issues of crime, issues of gender-based violence, issues of health. We are still in the midst of a pandemic. COVID-19 is still with us. Those are the things that the president is expected to touch on, to outline. And we expect him to touch on fighting corruption, particularly in light of the release of 2 parts of the Zondo Commission report into state capture, but also the report on the July unrest that basically led to more than 300 people dead, the economy in tatters, private and public property destroyed. All those things, they need to be outlined as to how the president is going to deal with the security situation in the country. Since July, we have seen these sporadic events and attacks on key institutions. I'm talking about the Constitutional Court building in Johannesburg, the Parliament as we speak, the National Assembly building was gutted by fire. That's why we're having this State of the Nation address at the Cape Town City Hall. But right now, I'm joined by Masibulele Xazo's, the Secretary to the National Assembly. Thank you very much for your time. Let's talk about rules. You deal with rules here. How are they going to be different from the old building, the National Assembly, which was gutted by fire, and we are at the Cape Town City Hall? In terms of rules, how is it going to work out?
Firstly, the rules will be the same. The Speaker and the Chairperson, this is what they did. They invoked a rule called Rule 2, which deals with unforeseen eventualities, which then enabled them to decide that Parliament is here. Now, the Powers and Privileges Act gives the Speaker and the Chairperson authority over a precincts of Parliament. So this has now been declared precincts of Parliament. And that means that the rules, the procedures, the conventions of Parliament are fully applicable as they would in the Parliament building that we know. So the rules are applicable here. This sitting has been called by the President, and of course the Parliament concurred, and it was published, and so it's going to be like any other State of the Nation address, just in terms of content, what happens inside.
Let's talk about the attendance. I know this will be a hybrid sitting of some sort. Others will not be physically here. How many members are going to be attending, and what is the layout and the setup in terms of attendance? Unpack that for us.
We have made provision for up to 364 members who will be attending physically. And of course, that number is split between the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. We'll have 86 of that coming from the National Council of Provinces, and the rest will be in the National Assembly. But what is important to state is that all the parties will be in attendance. And of course, the numbers have been decided in terms of party strength, in terms of the number of seats that parties have in the House. So the numbers will be different, but all the parties will be in attendance today. For instance, I can give an example. The first three parties, ANC will have up to 155, DA up to 57 members, the EFF up to 38 members, including the NCOP from the side of the EFF. Just give you those three parties. But the important thing is that all the parties, political parties represented in Parliament, will be participating, and of course the provinces, all the provinces will be participating.
Let's talk about the procession here. How is it going to work? The arrival of the judges, the speakers, the premiers, and everyone. Unpack it for us. The setup is different. It's not your normal parliament precinct, even though the rules here have declared this a parliamentary precinct, but the layout and the design is different. How is the procession going to work?
Of course, firstly to say that State of the Nation address is one of those rare occasions where you have the three arms of the state come together in this fashion. So here you will have at least three processions. The one of the speakers of provincial legislatures, and the other of premiers, and of course of the judiciary. So there will be a procession outside the hall, into the hall, and of course there's a red carpet there where the procession will be, and that always happens before the arrival of the deputy president, and the arrival of the president will come closer to the time. There will be the ceremonials that we are used to in terms of State of the Nation address. There will be a 21-gun salute, which will coincide with the national anthem. There will be a salute days outside where the president will stand for the 21-gun salute. And of course, inside the chamber, you will have imbongi, which has become part of your State of the Nation address. The language this time around is Setswana. So there will be that praise singer who will be doing what they always do.
Okay, let's talk about how difficult and how unique and challenging it has been for you to organize this State of the Nation address, different venue, dictated to by different circumstances. How challenging has it been to put this together?
Of course, it has been challenging. Initially, we had to find a suitable venue. Of course, our leadership had to find a suitable venue. We had to go to a few venues around, and eventually they settled for this venue. And of course, we don't have the kind of infrastructure that we have in Parliament, whether you talk of ICT infrastructure, even the sitting arrangement, as you will see, it's okay, but it's not what we're used to. So we have had to make sure that there is adequate infrastructure and that members are able to sit appropriately. And of course, we've had party whips come here and they've seen the place, and there seems to be satisfaction in terms of the arrangements that have been made, but it has been challenging.
I know you are not a politician, you don't deal with issues related to politics, even though you work in a political environment, but the State of the Nation address is meant to give hope to South Africans. Not only hope, but concrete, tangible action to implement the commitments. You have seen a number of State of the Nation addresses. What is it that the President needs to do differently to inspire hope and ensure that lives of millions of South Africans do change for the better? What are the main things that he should address today?
Well, I may not talk about the content, but I can talk about the process. We don't want to call this an event. It's part of the program of Parliament, because what the President will do today, the budget in 2 weeks' time is supposed to give effect to some of the commitments that will be made. But it does not end there. Then you have committees of Parliament that must interact with everything that would have been said today and process that. But in terms of what the President will say, I think I'll leave that to those who are competent to deal with those matters. But I can only talk to process at this point.
Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
That is Masibulele Xaso, who is the Secretary to the National Assembly here, giving us, a breakdown about the rules, procedures, bearing in mind that the State of the Nation address will be delivered at a different venue this time around for the first time in many years. As we take it back to you in studio, Maseko.